Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So welcome everyone to this special meeting of the Community Corrections Partnership, which is primarily dedicated to strategic planning. I'm Probation Division Manager William Oneto. I'm subbing in as the chair for Chief Fritnick today. The first item of business is a roll call. So Lupita, would you mind taking roll?
Member Davis? Looks like he's absent. Member Evans?
Here.
Member Jacoski?
Here.
Member Lewis?
Here.
Thank you. Member Miller?
Here.
Member Olson?
Here.
Member Raven?
Here.
Member Sullivan?
Here.
Member Valdez? Looks like she's absent. Member Vega? Also absent. Member Villegas?
Present.
Member Oneto?
Present.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lupita. That brings us to item number 3, which is consider approval of the agenda. Hopefully everyone's had an opportunity to review the agenda. And if there are no changes, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you. And can I get a second?
Second.
All right. And can we get a vote to approve the agenda, please?
I'm sorry, can whoever seconded it, let me know? I didn't catch who it was. Thank you. Member Davis? Absent. Member Evans?
Aye.
Member Jacoski?
Aye.
Member Lewis?
Aye.
Member Miller?
Aye.
Member Olson?
Aye.
Member Raven?
Aye.
Member Sullivan?
Yes.
Member Valdez is still absent. Member Vega? Also absent. Member Villegas?
Aye.
And Member Oneto?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, and that brings us to item number 4, public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the CCP on subjects relating to CCP business, but not otherwise on the agenda. Lupita, is there any public comment?
There are no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. So this brings us to the consent agenda, which includes approving authorized remote meetings of the CCP due to the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the approval of the minutes from the September 12th and September 26th CCP meetings. Unless there are members that would like something removed from the consent agenda, can I get a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
Chair Miller, I have one comment. Breaking out September 12th versus September 26th. I'd recommend we break that out to 2 different items. Case in point, I was absent from the 12th, so I'll have to abstain, but I can vote on the 26th.
We can do that at Chief Miller's request. Is there anybody who wants to pull any of the items from either of those minutes separately? In that case, can I get a motion to approve the items on each of those?
Was
So,
that?
Well, I think you should call them each separately. First we have item 5, and then maybe we turn to the minutes next and take each of the minutes separately.
Okay. So item 5 is the authorized remote meetings due to the pandemic. Can I get a motion to approve this item off the consent agenda?
This is Sullivan. I'll motion.
Thank you, Nolan. And can I get a second?
Miller.
I think we got a second. And then do we need to take a vote, Bill, or can I move to approve the minutes separately?
Yeah, go ahead and have Lupita call the vote. I think it was Chief Miller that seconded that one, although I'm not positive.
I'm seeing head nods. Lupita, would you mind doing another vote, please?
Sure. Member Davis absent. Member Evans?
Aye.
Member Chakowski,
Aye.
Member Lewis,
Aye.
Member Miller,
Aye.
Member Olson.
Aye.
Member Raven.
Aye.
Member Sullivan,
Yes.
Member Valdez is absent. Member Vega is also absent. Member Villegas,
Aye.
Member Oneto.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
All right, now can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the September 12th meeting?
Sullivan on motion.
Thank you. And can I get a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Ian. And can we do another roll call vote, please?
Yes, Member Davis is absent. Member Evans,
Aye.
Member Chakowski,
Aye.
Member Lewis,
Aye.
Member Miller,
Abstain.
Member Olson,
Abstain.
Member Raven,
Aye.
Member Sullivan,
Yes.
Member Valdez is absent. Member Vega is also absent. Member Villegas.
Aye.
And Member Oneto.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes with 2 abstentions.
Thank you, Lupita. And last, within the consent agenda, can we get a motion to approve the minutes from the September 26th meeting?
Sullivan on motion.
And can I get a second?
Miller will second.
And Lupita, would you mind taking another vote, please?
Member Davis is absent. Member Evans,
Aye.
Member Chakowski,
Aye.
Member Lewis,
Aye.
Member Miller,
Aye.
Member Olson.
Aye.
Member Raven.
Aye.
Member Sullivan,
Yes.
Member Valdez is absent, as well as Member Vega, Member Villegas,
Aye.
and Member Oneto.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. And Lupita, is there any public comment on the consent agenda?
There are no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you. All right, that takes us to the regular agenda, item 7, the presentation of the updated CCP website. Recently, updates were made, and I'm going to turn it over to CCP analyst John Rowe at this time to provide a quick tour of the new website. John.
Thank you, Chair. John Rowe, CCP analyst. I am going to give everyone a nice quick tour of the new website. It's going to be nice, quick, and smooth, so please keep your hands and arms inside the vehicle and hold your questions until the end. Thank you. Okay, you should now be seeing the Yolo County homepage. So we have a couple of ways to get to the website. Under Living, we have added Community Corrections Partnership. Click this link, it'll take you right there. Under Government, you go down to Law and Justice. Click that. You'll come to this landing page. It'll direct you to look to the left-hand menu. Under Law and Justice on the left-hand side, you'll see all the Law and Justice departments, and right here, Community Corrections Partnership. Click that, and it will take you to the beautiful new homepage that Beth Gabor over in Probation has spent a lot of time and effort putting together. So this is just a handy-dandy little central spot for all the different items. You can see the major categories where we're currently filling this out. There's a lot of items in here. Click on strategic plan, for instance, and you can see the prior strategic plans and a little spot where we'll have the new strategic plan once it's approved. You can also get to this directly if you go to yolocounty.org/CCP. It will direct you straight to this page. So easy to get to, fairly easy to navigate, and a lot of effort to be more transparent and to make sure we're providing plenty of information to our members and to the public, and that everyone knows what we're doing and why we're doing it. that's more or less the extent of the tour. If anyone has any specific questions about the website, happy to entertain them. So Chair, I will go ahead and turn this back over to you.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
Any questions from the CCP members about the website? All right. That brings us to agenda item number 8, finalize outcomes, strategies, and metrics for the 2023-2025 CCP strategic plan. So the intent today is to discuss and finalize the outcomes, the strategies, and metrics in this draft that's found in attachment A, so that the CCP can vote at a subsequent meeting to refer it to the Board of Supervisors for approval. Following that approval, tactical plans for each of the strategies will be developed that will go into much greater detail. Lupita, would you mind bringing up attachments A and B just so everyone can view them?
Give me 1 second, Chair.
Sure. So among other things, the current version of the plan incorporates public and member input received over the last few months. It addresses gaps identified in the criminal justice continuum of care sequential intercept map and prioritizes re-entry and community support services, and especially for our PRCS 1170 population. Once we scroll down, we'll start with attachment A. There we go. So one edit of note is you'll see in red next to the goal is the addition of the system intercepts that the goal addresses. So in addition to this, Jonathan Raven requested his comments be included, and that's in attachment B. And I was going to ask Jonathan if you wanted to go over those comments before we get started.
No, I assume people have read them, and if people have comments on them, they can comment. I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory. I don't know. If you want to walk through them, you can, but I'm sure everyone's read them. Right, everybody? Well, Oscar's read them.
Well, I can kind of go over some of the major changes in attachment A first. So like we pointed out, the new intercept sections next to the goal, but above that in the mission statement, we added thorough evidence-based, innovative, and culturally competent programs and services. I know that was talked about targeting in a certain area, but we decided to include it in the mission statement, overall statement. Down here in the first column under strategies, we moved the date up from June 30th to December 31st of 2024. And then just below that, looks like we bifurcated diversion and upstream prevention efforts just to kind of call them out in their own categories. I know that was some feedback we received on that. I'll open it up to the CCP for discussion as we're kind of going through these. If anyone has any feedback as far as language changes or comments on any of the changes made. I see Supervisor Villegas' hand is up. Go ahead, Supervisor.
Thank you. Well, so just so that I understand, so for purposes of what we're trying to do today, it's pretty high level still. And then under the outcomes, there'll be more specifics. So for example, I'm assuming, and maybe just stop me if I'm wrong, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding kind of what this is going to ultimately look like. So under the outcomes, under the metrics, for example, on the left-hand side there, increased upstream prevention, the second box there, the metrics, then the number of individuals served through upstream prevention programs. And then the strategies on the right-hand side says research programs that further or prevent further criminal justice involvement by June, implement and enhance identified prevention programs by June of 2024. So then is it fair to assume then that there will be more specific clear areas that are being worked on in this area in the work plan. So more kind of staff level, like what is actually going to happen versus this is kind of higher level. Is that what you're saying earlier?
Yeah, and so the recommended action as far as next steps is, following Board of Supervisor approval of this plan, John, the CCP analyst, will continue to develop a tactical plan for each of these strategies in collaboration with the appropriate CCP department staff. So I think
Got it.
that the tactical plans is where we're going to get more into the weeds of the actual what's needed.
Perfect. And that's where you don't want, I mean, it's too soon now, assuming that this is the strategy, the technical component is more staff level, and that just needs to remain at the staff level. That doesn't come back to this body for approval, right? It's just that staff can, once we've got an outcome and a strategy, then it's a matter of figuring out, how to make it happen.
That I'm not 100% sure if that technical plan would need to come back to this body. Perhaps Phil or one of the other CCP members might weigh in on that. I see Tracy's hand up. Go ahead, Tracy.
Oh, not about this. Something I wasn't going to ask about this.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
I guess I don't have an opinion on it one way or another. I mean, I would defer to the chief to figure out kind of what the technical plans look like. I'm just asking for those who oftentimes need a lot more information. I don't personally, but those who do, as a liaison, I'm trying to make sure that I understand kind of what's going to happen so I can make sure to defend the strategy in the document here as it goes to the board for consideration. So good enough. Thank you, Will.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Tracy, go ahead.
I just had a question about the social media posts that is listed as an outcome and a strategy, et cetera. I went back and found the media guidelines that the CCP had approved several years ago and distributed them to, I think, Dan and Prutnick and maybe Jonathan Raven, because we were all part of the media group. We had specifically said at that time we weren't going to use social media simply because we didn't have an identified person who would be able to have the time to keep up on social media. So my question is, do we need to decide who's responsible? I see here it's a media subcommittee and a PIO, but the media subcommittee didn't have time for that. So do we need to consider that today before we decide we're going to be measuring number of social media posts? Or is that something that we get into the weeds of later and we can amend this?
So I see Ian has his hand up. I don't know if it's to help answer this question or for another question.
Yeah, it was originally around about a different piece, but I mean, I'm happy to share my thoughts on this. I feel like that would be something that would be built out in the tactical plan as we get more into the details, right? And identify like who's responsible kind of for that piece of it. And I mean, somewhat tied to that, but maybe tied to Supervisor Vegas's questions also, I would recommend that we edit the language in next steps, that it's not a tactical plan built out for each strategy, but that it's tactical plans built out for each kind of outcome or metric, right? So we're building out a tactical plan for, increased public understanding of criminal justice system and the work of the CCP with those two metrics as our metrics for how we measure. The strategies are the high level strategies that are identified about how we increase the number of social media posts, increase press releases about CCP programs, responsibilities, and activities. But then the tactical plans are taking, how do we better organize and enhance information on the website? And there's some tactics underneath that strategy. And then there's some additional tactics under reconvening the media subcommittee, additional tactics under increasing traditional media and social posts and producing the annual report. But it's all under one tactical plan for that outcome measure group. Otherwise, we're going to have, 85 tactical plans for this strategic plan overall. And that's just my recommendation based on what we've done with the Board of Supervisors strategic plan is, the outcomes are kind of the higher level piece. They have strategies, and what we build out as the tactical plan leads are those individual items. And we have a team, right, that is responsible for specific tactics within that.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Great input. I know the CCP analyst, John, is taking lots of notes, so And then I thought I saw another hand, but I don't see any other hands at the moment. Are there any other thoughts on the strategic plan?
I noticed one of Jonathan's comments, which was a good recognition, but I didn't see a kind of edit on the other one made. He asked about the JBCT program in goal B, I think it was. If we wanted to include that, because we talked about some specific other in custody programs like the MAP program and in custody substance use. JBCT is also a newly launched program. So I think it might be good to add it to, or I would recommend that we add it to the strategies here in the same way that we've added the in custody substance use and MAP program.
I think it's in there. It's under goal C though. Evaluate jail-based competency treatment program.
Oh, is it just separate? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
I see it.
Thanks, Tracy.
Any other questions on attachment B, the comments from Jonathan or the strategic plan itself? I assume everyone's had a chance to read it even before this meeting, so it sounds like the group is comfortable to bring this back next month. I see a
Do
few.
you want to just show my changes and I can see if there's anything that we have?
Sure.
I think we're important.
Let's start with the goal A. It's really tiny, so I'm going to expand it here on my side to read. So under, you highlighted the word prevention under goal A, and the comment is this is confusing. Do you mean those who are not yet criminally justice involved? That certainly would be HHSA question mark. If pre-booking for those arrested, DA would need to be included. Should these be separate outcomes because prevention is much different than those already in the criminal justice system? And I'm wondering if this was before or after they got the prevention and the upstream got kind of bifurcated out.
Are you saying that this document that I edited is not the current operative document? It's an older one or something, or?
No, I'm reading it right now, but I see that they're in the same column here, but in the previous CCP plan, they are bifurcated out where upstream and diversion are handled separately. Is that how everyone else is seeing it as well?
Yeah, I thought page 14, 15, 16, 17 of our packet were an updated version of the plan based on Jonathan's comments, but also some other work. And this is page 18, 19, 20, 21. So I think the way I was reading it when I was looking it over was that what we have on screen here is the one that a few of us got last week to make comments on, and then the one above this was edited based on those comments and feedback from different parties. For today.
Right, Jonathan, this is older, so they did take your comment and separate out the upstream prevention and diversion.
Okay.
But the comment that you had that hasn't been addressed, and I don't know if you care enough to continue with it, is you said upstream prevention is confusing. And who are they talking about? Are they talking about HHSA upstream prevention? Or are you talking about criminal justice system upstream prevention? That comment wasn't addressed. I don't know if there is a way to address it, but that's the only thing that wasn't addressed.
Right. Sorry about that confusion, Jonathan. This the notes here are from before that some changes were made. That was one of the changes made, but it's to Tracy's comment of addressing specifically HSSA. I don't know if that would be something as part of the tactical plan where we would dive deeper into the details.
I took Jonathan's comment as, is upstream prevention for people that, is that a CCP within the CCP scope? Is that what your question was, Jonathan?
Yeah, we're looking at upstream as in before they're criminally justice involved, you know, in this instance, which obviously is very, very important. That's critical, you know, the prevention, but are we talking prior to them coming into the system? Or, because when you say pre-booking, how is it pre-booking? Pre-booking assumes they're in the system, but how can it be pre-booking? Because that's the first thing that happens when they get into the system is they're booked, right? In some way. Case is sent to us or they're arrested. So it was a little confusing to me. Pre-booking. What does pre-booking mean? When whoever wrote this, what does pre-booking diversion mean?
Yeah, I think I was thinking of things like some of the programs mentioned there, right? Our Prop 47 program is trying to get upstream. Specific to CCP though, CCP funded some support for Crisis Now, right? That's that's kind of intercept zero. We're trying to get folks who would have ended up in the criminal justice system potentially if we don't have something like Crisis Now in place. And so, you know, supporting some of those efforts upstream that help divert folks from the criminal justice system.
Right, and I think that's great and critical. I just don't know if the word pre-booking is right, because by saying pre-booking, you're kind of assuming that they're going to be booked, but you're talking about people that we're trying to prevent from coming into the criminal justice system, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it's just that phrase that's confusing to me, as opposed to, you know, I'm not saying this is the right phrase, but pre-criminally justice involved, you know, because if you're talking about booking, then they're in the system. Otherwise, you wouldn't use that phrase. I mean, it's kind of, maybe I'm splitting hairs and, you know, but is there a better way to say you're talking about people that are not yet in the system or in the system on a given case? They're outside the system at this point. Maybe they've been in before, but they're outside the system, like they haven't been arrested or they haven't been stopped by the police. And how is that right, Ian?
Yeah, that's what I was envisioning. That's a good way to capture it.
Yeah, and I think it's so I think it's just a matter of the words to me. I mean, you know, not because obviously that's a critical piece. I think it is CCP related.
Yeah, and I was thinking along the same terms. Tracy has a great suggestion in the chat. Pre-arrest, kind of getting at what you're talking about, Jonathan.
Yeah, pre-arrest. Yeah, because that'll be their first. Yeah, pre-arrest. Yeah.
Okay. That seems like a change we can easily make if everyone's somewhat in agreement about it. We can bring it back for a next meeting.
Yep.
All right, and then if we scroll down to the next comment, Lupita, if you wouldn't mind. And then I think we talked about the JVCT. That's already been addressed. And then the next comment highlighting the word restore. What exactly are folks thinking about here? We have restorative justice and mental health court, AIC, mental health diversion, RJP program. Did we want to add restorative justice to individuals who are prosecuted in the traditional system, not alternative programs?
So my question was, we're talking about expanding. So we already do restorative justice in all those programs listed. What the person, whoever wrote this, what were you thinking? Were you thinking like in the traditional system, you know, like someone who's not in a program? And that's not a bad idea. I'm just wondering what the thought process was in terms of expanding from what we're already doing. because restorative justice is great.
I'll jump in again because I initially wrote this one. I think I was getting something on paper to start some discussion in the beginning, but then, thinking about the restorative justice piece we've seen in all those programs, you mentioned how impactful it could be. Just looking for additional opportunities within the system to expand it to programs that it doesn't currently have, because I think there's huge benefits to it. And I don't know what those programs could be off the top of my head, but I think it's proven really effective in those programs and systems as we currently have it. And so any additional opportunities to look at what we have, I'd rely on you and Tracy and other around the traditional system, as you mentioned it, not alternative programs like those, to see where that might fit in.
So I guess when I read this, and I didn't, I just want to make sure I'm reading it. And when I first read it, I want to make sure that the person that wrote this, Ian, in this case, knew exactly what we were doing. So they weren't commenting on something, not realizing that we're already doing a lot. And obviously Ian knows about all these programs. Certainly we can expand further. Maybe that's just, add a word in there, because I just want it to be clear. We're doing a lot of this. So someone who's reading this doesn't understand what we're doing. And certainly Ian does, how much we're doing. But we can always expand even further. So, maybe that's expand further, or expand even further, or something like that. So it's clear to someone reading this that doesn't really understand what's going on, that we're doing quite a bit of this already, because we can always do more, because it's great, like Ian said.
Makes sense. Thanks, Jonathan. Again, another easy change that we can add for when we come back.
You want to say further expand? And what do people think in terms of, or does it matter? Maybe I'm being a little sensitive here, just, so I just input from all of you, like, especially like the people that Tracy's like, you're always sensitive. You're always overly sensitive. Maybe some of you that are kind of not so deeply involved, like that are reading this, Garth, for instance, or Chief Miller, or, Oscar or Jill, or any of you, when you're reading this, are you saying, nah, it's fine as it is? And if it is, then that's fine. Or do you think it would be good to have another sort of another word in there or two? What do you guys think? Because I'm okay, like whatever you guys feel, I'm not that big a deal.
I reviewed it. I didn't get into the weeds quite like you do, Jonathan. I mean, which I do appreciate very, very much. So I'm sorry, I don't have a whole lot to offer.
This is Oscar. I like the idea, Jonathan, to sort of say, without oversaying it, to say continue to expand opportunities for restorative justice or whatever. So it sort of tells the reader, if they're reading it for the first time, there's more going on here if you care to know, kind of thing. I like that idea.
Continue to expand, then further expand. You want to just write those down and take a crack at it, Will?
Yeah, we actually have a couple of note takers that are
Right.
grabbing those ideas right now.
Okay, awesome, thanks.
Yep, absolutely. But Peter, would you mind scrolling down to the next comment? Thank you. And so here the word recidivism is highlighted. And the comment is, what was the goal here? Right now we have 8 to 12 in the Department of State Hospital program, 30 in mental health diversion, which is nearly full, 30 in mental health court, which is about full, 30 in AIC, which is about full, and many in the restorative justice program. I will say that for the first time ever, mental health diversion, AIC, DSH, mental health court are all nearly full. We will need funding for probation, treatment providers, and DA/PD. Also, further expansion will be met with some resistance by the court due to their limited resources. At times, I feel folks who are drafting this doc are operating at 30,000 feet and don't understand what's happening in the trenches.
Again, so I hear this a lot. And so again, it may be me being a little sensitive to it. that, you know, we're not doing enough. We need more spots. We need more. And we're really like, we have as many spots as we need right now in our programs in the criminal justice system. That's not to say we can't do better. But I just like, again, it's sort of the same comment as I made in the last one. I just feel like people need to understand, you know, how much we're doing. That's not to say we can't do better, but right now we're taking everyone who fits, who is a good candidate to be assessed is pretty much being assessed. Some are suitable, some aren't. So, and I know Tracy has some feelings on this too. So, oh, she's got her hand up. See?
I do see Tracy's hand up. Go ahead, Tracy.
Two things. One, when I looked at, I think it was the mental health court referrals, we're only accepting about 15% of the people that are actually being referred to mental health court. And there are a variety of reasons for that, but I'd be very reluctant to agree that we have enough slots to serve everybody that has a need. It's just maybe those slots need to be something at a different level of care than mental health court. So that's the first thing. Second thing, we don't even really measure recidivism in mental health court and AIC court. We measure things like jail bed days that are utilized, not state hospital bed days that are utilized, I guess we do arrests. And what was the other one? There's another one that Ian might remember. So I don't know if we want to just say recidivism and call it a day, or we want to actually call out the things we're currently measuring in addition to recidivism. I think that sometimes we throw out recidivism because that's what we think we're supposed to throw out. There are a lot of other ways to show how people are getting well other than recidivism.
Yeah, I'll jump in and say, I think, you know, we've seen the same thing from the collaborative court outcomes in terms of referrals, but also from some of Kevin O'Connell's data in terms of, you know, numbers in how many folks are being booked, how many folks have, you know, an identified mental health or substance use issue, and that it might be, I mean, you know, the DA and public defender collaborated and came up with the new mental health diversion program last year, right? That was a new program because of a population that we weren't capturing. And so I think that's the vision here is there are folks that we're not capturing with the current programs. And so I don't know that it is, I don't know that it'll end up being expansion of the existing programs or adding new programs like the mental health diversion program that you all came up with last year to fill that gap. And that was my thought with why, like, the first step in this process is evaluate the current programs that we have in place, right? To see where those gaps are, cross-reference it with some of Kevin's data, you know, and then we got the two new Prop 47 programs that'll be launching in March, right? And so what gaps do those help fill? And where do we still stand with some folks that are still not receiving maybe the level of service that we hope they would, that have a mental health or substance use issue and are involved here, fit this population, and then start looking at how do we implement those. Because I mean, I think you're totally right, Jonathan. We're doing way more now than we have ever done in terms of collaborative courts and these programs for sure. The other piece of why I kind of thought this would be helpful in here is right now, CCP doesn't pay anything for AIC, for mental health court, for DSH. And so we also need to be mindful of that. And when the current grants go away, if we don't want to lose those current spots, we need to think about what other funding is available for those. And CCP might be the appropriate funding for some of those. And, you know, so including it on here and making sure that it's on CCP's radar moving forward, I felt like would help us keep that on the radar and look at it in terms of future fiscal years for budgeting purpose.
That's fair.
And so, Jonathan, is it a matter of changing language in the outcome that currently stands at increased post-booking diversion opportunities to reduce recidivism, or more to Tracy's point, adding or modifying the two metrics below it?
I think it's fine as is. I just think that my point is I want people to be aware of what we're currently doing and how much we're currently doing, especially the public, you know, so when they're reading that, or even if it's the board of supervisors, you know, they might not realize exactly what we're doing. And when they're reading that, I don't want them to feel that we're not doing a lot. And to say we can't do more, you know, would be a mistake, because certainly we can do more, because there's certainly some people who need some help that aren't being served. So we can always do better. And I think we are going to start having to look down the road, you know, to other funding sources, you know, if we do lose grants. My feeling, and I want to say it right here for everyone, is we're very limited in our funding with the CCP, and anything that has a mental health component, especially a serious mental health component, I believe we should be looking to the Mental Health Services Act dollars, where there are millions and millions and millions of dollars, and more coming in as we move forward, according to Karen, our former director, in terms of how well the millionaires continue to do in the state. But like Ian said, there may be a point in time where we are going to have to look at other funding sources as grants go away.
Hey, clerk, real quick. It looks like Carlene got dropped off and maybe rejoined, and she's in the attendees, not in the panelists.
Thank you. I've been trying to promote her, but she is not accepting the invitation.
She doesn't
Oh,
want
I
to be
see.
promoted.
She just joined as a panelist. Thank you.
She doesn't want to be promoted. She's done with promotions.
So I was going to suggest that maybe part of the tactical plan that John will be working on with groups maybe has a little piece of that where it tells our story, and it tells the story of everything that we're doing in that area right now to go along with it, versus this much more higher level document.
Right. Right. That sounds good.
All right. And we'll move on to the next comment, which stays in goal C, and it's the last bullet point under strategies. Implement evaluation recommendations for competency programming. And the comment is,
Yeah, so my point to that is, as some of you know, there is no programming for competency for misdemeanors anymore. And that's very, very frustrating for a lot of us, and that's due to a change in the law. So it used to be that when someone was incompetent and they were in the misdemeanor world, Health and Human Services would do the restoration, which was really, really challenging for them anyway, just because of a whole host of reasons. But so I just kind of want to make mention of that, and maybe there's nothing we can do there because of the law, but it's just a frustrating change in the law. I'm not really understanding what the legislative intent was for that, but it's frustrating for that population.
Luckily, that's the new grant that you guys got that you're going to be implementing in March, right, Jonathan?
Yeah, so that'll help. Yeah. All right. Okay, I think we can move on from that. I'm probably venting a little bit in some of these comments, so thanks for bearing with me.
absolutely. All right, well, it sounds like this group's comfortable to bring this back next month with the changes and modifications we've talked about here today. I'm not seeing any hands up or any disagreements. So the feedback we've gotten from today's discussion will be incorporated into the plan. We'll bring it back next month for a vote to refer it to the Board of Supervisors. And Lupita, do we have any public comment on this section?
There are no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? I don't know if you related to- Oh, you have one?
Yeah, someone just raised their hand. Tegwill Millard.
Tegwin Millard.
Oh, Millard, sorry.
Hi there, this is Tegwin from Communicaren. We work with the mental health diversion program, and I just wanted to say that it's going really well, and that, you know, our enrollment numbers are up, clients are doing well, the collaboration has been really effective so far, and we have just extended the length of our program to last 18 months as opposed to 1 year. So that's pushed back a few of the graduation dates that, you know, maybe we would have anticipated a little bit sooner. We're coming up on our year anniversary. So I just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Thanks, Tegwin. Lupita, are there any other public comments?
There are no additional hands raised, Chair.
And Jonathan, you had a question?
Oh, I just, before we adjourn, I was just kind of curious as to if this is a question that you know the answer to, where we were at on the filling the slot for the CBO representative vacated by DRC. Is that something that we have to, were we setting, I know I was talking to Tracy about this, we're setting up an ad hoc. Do we need to do that at the next meeting, or is that something that we can start working on earlier? Where are we at on that, Will? Or if you know.
I do not, so I will defer to Phil. I attended the last meeting, but I do not know the status of it.
Yeah, I don't know. I think unfortunately only Chief Rutnick could speak to that issue. I'm not sure what the status is, but yeah, at the very least, Jonathan will have an update to you before the next meeting, or at the next meeting rather.
Okay.
It should be, I think it should be agendized to create and appoint members to the subcommittee at the next meeting.
And is that something that to create an ad hoc? Is that a Brown Act issue? Is that something that needs to be?
Usually I think virtually always, the appointment of the ad hoc, both its creation and the appointment of the members occurs at a public meeting.
But you're saying that couldn't occur today? Because it
Couldn't
hasn't.
occur today, no,
Okay.
because it's not on the agenda.
Thanks.
So that brings us to item number 9, member announcements. Are there any announcements CCP members would like to make at this time?
I'll just announce real quick, we released the RFPs for the HHSA Prop 47 grant that we received. It's the $6 million program that will run for 36 months, starting in March of 2023. So it has a services RFP with multiple scopes for the wraparound case management, peer support workers, clinicians that really provide the ongoing support for that program. And then additionally, civil legal services and a good amount of funding for some staff, but also money for housing, for direct to client dollars, move-in costs, some rent while folks get income. And then there's a separate RFP that's been released for the evaluator that we have to have for the program. So bringing in a company to do the evaluation like we had for the last Prop 47 cohort 1 program. So that will be closing in the next 5-6 weeks or so, and then looking to get contracts established and brought to the board likely in January, with the program to start in March of 2023. We're excited to have that as part of the continuum.
Just if I could, on that, I noticed the turnaround is very quick. I think it's a month that the RFP is out. Are you anticipating a pretty good response from that released RFP? Because that doesn't seem like a lot of, I know you're trying to move quickly for obvious reasons, but do you have any sense of how much interest there is?
Yeah, I'll double check the timeline. It should have been at least 5, if not 6 weeks. So I'll double check with procurement on the timeline to make sure that that's kind of what we've committed to our partners, when we do RFPs, that we leave them open for at least 5 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
I saw from procurement today, we've got over 20 views on each of the RFPs already. So hopefully we'll have a good turnout at the bidders conference tomorrow and get some good service providers.
Yeah, I may have looked at it very quickly. I look at a lot of stuff, but I thought it looked like a quick turnaround, but by design maybe. So, all right, just curious.
Thank you, Ian, for that update. Any other member announcements?
Jonathan here, I have an announcement. I wanted to say, in the last month, we've had a slew of graduations from Addiction Intervention Court and Mental Health Court, and maybe that's kind of post-COVID catching up to things. And they've been really powerful, and just the turnaround that these individuals have made, it's 180 degrees. And what's really important that I appreciate from some of you here is to have, the people, department heads, assistant department heads, coming in when I ask to basically, share their congratulatory comments. I think that really means a lot, not only to the participants, but to the team members, like to see someone who's, been a caseworker at HHSA for 25 years, seeing Nolan or Carlene come in, that really means a lot to them. And then also to all those people sitting there, just starting the program or in the middle of the program, who are watching this and seeing what's possible. So I know that Tracy has come out and Carlene and Nolan, and it's been really fun because Carlene has even known some of the participants from, like decades back in working with them, in her years back in Yolo County. It makes it that much more personal and meaningful. And also some of the law enforcement end of things. Chief Miller, if you're ever at a LEAC and you remember, maybe you could thank your counterparts for answering the call when I asked them to come. I really appreciate it. So thanks to all of you for helping out. Makes a big difference.
Jonathan, if I can just comment on that too, for what it's worth, and I would offer the board chambers in whatever way you think might highlight and sort of underscore how incredibly we as a community are proud of these folks who've made it through, a very difficult time. And so I just throw that out there for what it's worth. Some folks would rather stay quite clear of a board of supervisors meeting, wouldn't blame them. But for others who like to be recognized for the work that's happening, please keep that in mind if you think that there's an opportunity where you might be able to help celebrate that.
That's a great idea. And I think maybe we could get some of the graduates from both programs all there together during one meeting. That would be really amazing. So I'll talk to the people that can make that happen and see what they think. Thank you. It's a great idea.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Jonathan. Last call for CCP announcements. All right, that takes us to adjournment. And unless there's any objections, we're going to go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
Chair,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt. It looks like Laura Valdez has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Laura. Can't see it on my screen, but go ahead.
Thank you, Lupita. I wanted just to point out the fact that I wanted to let the CCP know on restoring victims. I wanted to let the CCP know that we've been doing a very good job. As of March of this year, we were able to acquire a another CCP advocate to be able to assist with the restorative justice program. And she only focuses on restorative justice, on helping those victims have a voice during the restorative justice program. So I wanted to bring that up, also let everybody know that that is working out very well. The CCP advocate who handles everything AB 109, everything that's being kicked back by CDCR, she is still very boggled by all the work, but it really assisted her in being able to have that advocate be hired by CCP for RJP. So thank you. And I wanted just to let the team know that that's what we've done in the victim services realm.
Thank you, Laura. And thought I saw Nolan's hand up for a second. Did you want to make a comment, Nolan?
No, I'm good. I changed my mind. I'll do it next time.
All right. Any other member announcements? I'm not seeing any hands raised. And so that brings us to adjournment, unless there's any objections. Our next meeting for the CCP will be held on November 14th at 1:30 p.m. And thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day.